My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
Alrighty, this is the entity that is obsessing over me and is gang stalking with demons who are gang stalking, crossing paths with the entity that's maintaining surveillance. That's the military. The homosexual cult members that are crossing path at the Civic Center, doing so while they are monitoring my devices, doing so while they are monitoring on the internet, and they are monitoring, meaning stalking with the people of the state, who are doing so while they are harassing. So while I'm sleeping, the people of the state are engaging in what is the same conduct as I show you, crossing path, engaging in what is loud audible activity creation in concert with the demons with plain activity. This is what the entity's been doing all night, doing so while trying to avoid being caught on camera. These are not just homosexual cult members that are obsessed stalkers and severely mentally ill. They're cowards. But this is the entity doing so at what is 3:04 a.m., where, again, a matter of judicial notice, no destination, no flight has been executed by engaging from the airport to a destination. There's no passengers on these planes. There is no destination intended other than to come and stalk me in a plane, which is the entire operation of the Ontario International Airport, in addition to the criminal activity of the commercial airline companies that is 24 hours a day. And that's why it's happening where there are no flights even scheduled at 3:04 in the morning. In the engineered environment where the fake sun rises and sets, and they are also doing so stalking in places such as Upland, California, where there are not even any airports or commercial airline planes from an airport to and from an airport. This is the P.O.C. This is relevant to the entity that is going to be subject to what are involuntary commitments, them and the people of the state that are stalking me, while the entity utilizes things such as planes and helicopters. This is prosecuting the entire city of Ontario as well, who are sharing in this stalking, while the military uses commercial planes, which is speaking to those that are going to be dishonorably and disgracefully discharged from the military and prosecuted as terrorists. This is exceeding stalking, and this is speaking to a lot of money and energy. You're talking about mental illness at the outset to engage in this. And this is a pattern of conduct that the U.S. military, the government, has been utilizing for decades. They're coming out of planes and they're going into mental institutions. This is P.O.C. It's 3:06 a.m. That's the audible activity of equally mentally ill stalkers who are not military personnel. These are undiagnosed psychopaths and serial killers who are engaging in stalking in a manner that the whole world is witnessing, which in a military tribunal is going to result in their being institutionalized. They are going to what are mental institutions. It's 3:11 a.m. and that's the equally impossible audible activity where there are planes taking off from the airport headed to a destination, as opposed to the 3:11 a.m. sound of what is plane activity by a demon that's stalking and trying very hard to hide that fact. You can hear the plane activity because demons that are monitoring cannot do so inconspicuously. And there are no planes that are going to be hovering over the Ontario Civic Center. They're not going to do so at 3:11 a.m. And they're also doing so where the entity is maintaining that in this environment where they are obsessed over me. This is the evidence of obsession. And this is shared by a population of demons who are the people of the state. Okay, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. at 3:11 a.m. It's 3:12 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is documentation regarding the stalking efforts of the entity that's utilizing millions of dollars on what is a fully exposed and entirely unclassified and heavily documented, widely published all over the internet, stalking conduct. The entity that includes not only the people of the state that are engaging in what is stalking overnight and doing so in a manner where it's very pathetic what the entity is doing, gang stalking in the first place, that everybody's stalking one person and everybody's also a demon. But the entity is doing that, and these are people that are in the military. These are demons. They're not people. That's why they're engaging in pathetic behaviors and abnormal conduct, because they're not humans. These are demon-possessed people. The entity is engaging in stalking all night, like I'm capturing at 3 in the morning, and what I'm capturing again at 3:11 in the morning. This is what the entity was doing all night, and doing so pursuant to what is also a pathetic effort to try to avoid it. I'm stalking you. I'm desperately stalking you, and I also want to make sure I get it in while you fall asleep and you don't have your phone in your hand. It's really pathetic what the entity is doing, but in other words, the entity is doing so, and is obsessed with me. This is like a harassment tactic. This is also, again, another iteration of obsession, while stalking and wanting to avoid desperately to be seen, merely because everyone already knows and it's already established, it's already proven. And so the entity is doing this exact same thing and doesn't want to be seen merely on my camera, doesn't want me to show you more pictures and video, which you are getting on an ongoing, consistent, daily basis. But merely is doing that all night long is what I want to document, because this is relevant to the entity that's being sentenced, the entity that's going to be compensating damages, and the entity that is going to prison and is being diagnosed. So the details and the things that the entity would deny and the things that claim that, no. The entity is doing so all night long and is obsessed with me in doing so. While the entity is stalking and harassing, the entity is harassing based on their obsession. Obsession is not that which is disproven because the stalker is rude to you, or because the stalker harasses you, or because the stalker calls you names and even tries to batter you. The entity engages in violence and abuse based on obsession. These are psychopaths and murderers and serial killers. And they obsess over you and stalk you. And the obsession is not only shown through the environment. The entity is obsessed with you while they keep you under a fake sun and stalk you obsessively. The entity is obsessed with you while they molest you with impossible light and they follow you around incessantly. The entity is obsessed with you while they engage in that which they don't want spoken of, that they are also stalking you in places, including the bathroom, especially the bathroom, inside and outside and all around, above the bathroom. That entity is obsessed with you while they are also engaging what is harassing you, defaming you, also seeking to try to deny or refuse, which you can't refuse, but the reality that they're stalking. This is all evidence of obsession of an entity that is mentally ill as well. I just want to make sure that that's clear. This is relevant regarding the entity's conduct overnight, stalking obsessively. The pattern of conduct never takes a pause. So it's 24-hour surveillance, and I want to note that this is what the entity, that includes the people of the state, are committing. The entity is not stalking at 3 o'clock in the morning and that there's no one in relevant position. So what you also know is that there are creepers that are in the dark, inconspicuously stalking, while the entity is indeed stalking in planes, like I captured at 3:04 and 3:11 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the entity that is engaging in what is very desperate and pathetic. This is going to result in involuntary commitments. This is the stalking conduct, and they're doing so with the people of the state who are engaging in stalking in this manner. This is the same entity that is stalking at the fake churches, as opposed to what is genuinely being interested, even as homeless, in receiving meals. They go to the fake churches to receive a meal because that's where I go. They go in the same way. They go into the restrooms because I go into the bathrooms. They're stalking. And this is the entity that's going to be committed. This is equally sharing in mental illness while they're stalking in planes and helicopters, sitting around monitoring. I want you to know the hour as well. It's 5:36 a.m. This one in particular is going to be committed. This is the level of evidence that's going to result in that. This is P.O.C. And this is the entity that on an ongoing basis with the rest of the people of the state. That's not an individual that's exhibiting mental instability and obsession that's shared. It's an entity. And I want you to be clear. The demons that are inside of the library, working inside of the library, Carissa and Alyssa and all the employees, the gang stalking teenagers, the ones that are gang stalking with their children, the ones that are all under the same environment, you need to understand it's the same level of obsession. They pick amongst themselves those that engage in this sort of exposing themselves because they, in their minds as demons, like to compartmentalize their psychotic obsession with me, but they're all demons equally. They're all stalking in the same manner, and these are demons that are going to be committed, and this is what they were doing all night long, spending millions of dollars on this, and the commercial airline companies are very much aware of it, and regardless of admitting awareness, they're being federally prosecuted for it. Okay, that's the entity that's repeatedly engaging in that which is serving no purpose other than stalking me. And it's the same, okay? This is systematic stalking. That's a serial stalker. He likes to hold up his middle finger while he's stalking, and that's going to be relevant in his federal prosecution as well. This is the entity that thinks that if they're rude and disrespectful, that they're not going to get federal time, and that also makes them look like they're cool. There's nothing cool about going to federal prison because that's where they're going. They're going to federal prison, and these are demons that are vagina monitors engaging in stalking with the entity that's equally engaging in psychotic behavior, stalking in planes and helicopters. They also don't have any lives. They don't have any purpose, and that's why they're stalking me all night long, including while they keep their head down and stalk in the path. It does not change the fact that they're a stalker. All right, this is the entity that is surrounding, and they are equally pathetic, equally obsessed. That's what you need to know while you are looking at them dipping and dodging over the Ontario City Hall. Everybody in that Ontario City Hall, equally a loser. This one is just covered in dirt. Equally a loser. This one's just keeping his head down. Okay, stalking, having nothing else to do. These are demons that are maintaining an illusion regarding being different, and they're not. And those are the demons that are flying over the city hall, doing so at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I captured that at 3 o'clock in the morning, obsessing over me all night long. The population that were maintaining ongoing psychopathic pacing right here, obsessing over me. Okay, this is speaking to what is mental illness that is shared by a population, regardless of specific identity. They are an entity, and they will be prosecuted and treated in the based on what is that shared pattern of conduct, which is speaking to a shared condition. And I'm letting you know it does not change based on their race, their age, their ability to articulate, their demographic regarding how much money they make or where they work. They're equally psychotic. And I cannot stress that anymore. Leon is equally mentally ill as the demons that are stalking right now on these planes, and these demons that are sleeping outside around me, obsessing over me and going into the bathroom. Leon is merely one that finds it inappropriate for him at the level that he's at to do so, but he is equally monitoring my vagina while another homeless demon goes into the bathroom, when they are all at the same level. All of them. They're all demons. They maintain an illusion, maintaining a hierarchy, ones that are developmentally challenged and ones that are married and ones that are convicts and ones that are in law enforcement and ones that are in the medical field and ones that are working amongst children. They're all demons. This is a whole system. And this is showing you how they are actually all in an identical state. This is not individualism at all. They're demons. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:40 a.m. and that's how this evidence is going to be liberally applied in the court. You will not be treated differently because you live somewhere else, because you live in San Diego, because I never captured your lily white face on my camera out there in Northern California, because you are of some job level that has not been specifically addressed by me in my evidence, because you have not been at the Ontario Civic Center when the entity was stalking by helicopter for 25 minutes. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. and the evidence is what is proving the condition and the criminal activity. And that is indiscriminately the case. And the evidence also proves that. You're not going to be treated differently with regard to that level of evidence. And this is the entity that is speaking to not only criminal activity that they're criminally responsible for, but also relevant to what is the mental illness. And gang stalkers will be treated and prosecuted as mentally unstable, and that is going to be built into that federal prosecution as violent sex offenders. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that is indeed obsessed with me. 5:41 a.m. That's not a takeoff. And you're listening to the sound of that plane. It's demonic. It's not the sound of that plane. This is demonic activity. And demonic activity is being referred to as what is mentally ill behavior amongst criminal conduct, which is stalking. And this is stalking by the military that is utilizing commercial airline companies. This is criminal activity amongst commercial airline companies that are acting in concert with the state, in concert with the people of the state, and doing so while the entity is engaging what is criminal presence in the path, engaging what is harassing me while you're gang stalking, and you're going to prison. You're going to be committed for it. The entity is engaging in that which they are ashamed to be published on the internet, but they are absolutely not only obsessively stalking, they're sex offenders that also obsess over me in places like the bathroom. And that is equal, both demon-possessed females and demon-possessed males. And I just want to be clear, it's June 16, 2026. June 16, 2022, this entity committed kidnapping with the demons of the Ontario Police Department, who are summoned by these stalkers, who make up information, lying, and they make up information that is actually exposing what they are guilty of. And everybody that is engaged in what is the published act of kidnapping that is shared by the Ontario Police Department, the Ovid Family Community Library employees, the people of the state, gang stalking under the fake sun at this Ovid Family Community Library, the San Bernardino County Behavioral Health. They engaged in criminal defamation while you're looking at this psychotic behavior. This is the entity that engaged in criminal defamation on June 16, 2022. And also the entity that is engaging in what is kidnapping with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, which is San Bernardino County as well. These are all aspects of the system that are being shut down. The hospital committed kidnapping, and they did so while gang stalking me and kidnapping me inside of that hospital in 2022. I did document that. The entity engaging in what is abuse of this system in order to engage in what is defaming me while you are engaging in exposing your mental illness while you've been stalking the entire time. This is the exact same system. This is the exact same conduct that is underway on June 16, 2022. And flying over is the same exact crossing a path. It's like this fat, dirt-covered demon stalking in the path and this skinny Latino male gang stalking in the path. It's the same criminal presence in the path while the entity is doing a cartwheel in a commercial plane and equally crossing path, not headed to a destination, but stalking me in the sky space in the same exact environment amongst the people of the state while they are doing so in two different types of aircrafts. See, the entity that's going to prison is going to prison for the ongoing pattern of conduct. And on June 16, 2022, the entity engaged in what is kidnapping with the intent to obstruct justice because I'm publishing the evidence of this entity stalking. That's also why Corey, Walton, and everybody else that is documented engaging in gang stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library under the fake sun. That includes the demon working for San Bernardino County Behavioral Health. They're all, every single last one of them are going to federal prison. And this is exactly what I mean by that. And what you're mindful of, the reason why you are also going to prison, that very system is why Tracy Banks, a high school graduate, an elderly whore, is able to lie on anyone's character, let alone mine, and be able to, with the ongoing criminal cooperative acts of a corrupt government that is stalking me. The U.S. military is the one that is defaming me while they are feces consumers. They're cult members. And they have sex with each other and lie on the character of those that they are stalking and obsessing over, and they do so by abusing their positions. And they also think that they're going to stalk like this in planes and helicopters and as an entity with the people, and that they're going to avoid what is being put in mental institutions, and that's because they are actually mentally ill, but they're going straight to mental institutions, and so are the demons that are stalking me. And that's on June 16, 2022, where this criminal pattern of conduct, including helicopter, including making malicious and false assertions, allegations, intentional to engage in what is criminal summoning, and then those demons of Ontario police actually arrive while they were already gang stalking to communicate a threat, and then they engage in what is harassment, which I documented. They did it under the fake sun that's over the roof of this of this Ontario Ovid Family Community Library. While you know this time of year the fake sun is now remaining over not Starbucks at 507 or Thurgood Avenue like it was in 2025, but it's remaining not over Alvarado Gardens like I'm documenting in 2024 at the same time at 10 and 10:29 a.m., but it's remaining over Upland Public Library as of 2026. This is all same time of year analysis. These demons are going to prison for kidnapping that is documented on this day in 2022. Stalking on the roads and the highways under things such as a fake sun, and they do so while they are being documented, speaking to mental illness and obsession, not innocence and ignorance. They are determined and obsessed to engage in it, and their very poor system exists as if they keep doing it, then that's supposed to disprove it. That doesn't work when you're being prosecuted. And the entity has continuously engaged in that system, even down to the stalking in the helicopter. What told them, other than those that are going to be committed demons, that are going to be consuming their vessels while they're committed, that you keep stalking in a helicopter, and that disproves that you are stalking as an entity and stalking in helicopters? The ones that are going to be put in mental institutions. Everybody. You're talking about Robert that works in Page One Cafe. You're talking about the demons that are gang stalking, working and being present inside of the senior center, inside of the city hall, inside of the senior citizen complex, while the entity is stalking me in Upland, California, and they're going to prison for kidnapping that was committed on this day in 2022. And that's what you're mindful of while the entity is stalking me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Remember, they defame my character and try to state that I'm a child molester while they're stalking like this still 4 years later. And they engaged in what is kidnapping. And inside of Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, they committed a battery. They put needles in my body and they battered me, wrestled me down in order to do so. This is pursuant to Tracy Banks lying on my character, as though she's got some power of attorney, as though I've got some mental illness whatsoever. This is what she reiterated with the same kidnappers of the Ontario Police, May 29, 2025. They're all going to federal prison, every single last one of them. And that's the U.S. military that's engaging in this system while they are still stalking. They're going to be put in a military tribunal, and all of that pattern of conduct is being documented. And you're mindful of what they have already committed while they're still psychotic and obsessively stalking 24 hours a day. They're going to prison. They are being committed, and they are not getting out. And they know that they're going to prison. That's where they're going to die. This is the reality, and this is for the protection of American citizens. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:54 a.m. There are no flights over here. This is the entity that is stalking. They're doing so on the anniversary of kidnapping that the U.S. military committed with the state of California, with San Bernardino County, with the gang stalking hospital, with the gang stalking police department, and these gang stalkers who are the people of the state. They're being committed for it. They were also gang stalking with these commercial airline companies who are going to compensate for the totality of the pattern of conduct. The entity is engaged in this stalking, and they're doing so after having committed something such as egregious as kidnapping as an entity, because they're being documented. Like I stated, this case was lost a long time ago, and 4 years later, they're still engaging in the criminal system. That does not mean that they did not lose it, they lost it, and this is relevant context regarding every lie that they've told pertaining to my character, because the government thinks that they can be corrupt and engage in what is terrorizing you and then just lie on your character in order to get away with it. And the government and those that make up that government system are going to be committed for it, okay? They're doing so with those that have nothing to live for. This is why he's putting himself on camera as though somebody that is very much willing to go to federal prison. These are demons, and they're all equally suicidal and pathetic, okay? They don't have a purpose. That's why demons in the military are stalking me. And this is the way in which their lives are going to conclude. They're going to prison for kidnapping, June 16, 2022. This is the exact same obsessive stalking that they were engaging in, and the entity did not want me to publish it on the desktop computers in this library while they were stalking me as I was sleeping at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, obsessively stalking all night long, as my evidence shows. And while they're stalking me all day, even before today, but you're mindful of what they're doing on an ongoing basis, stalking by helicopter every day, every night, following me into different cities, and they committed kidnapping on June 16, 2022. And there is no statute of limitations. Southwest Airlines and every other commercial airline company is being prosecuted for kidnapping as an entity while gang stalking. Doing so, stalking with a police department is going to expose you to severe liability. Gang stalking as the people of the state is going to expose you to severe liability. You're going down for the same crime. This is the Ovid Family Community Library, and all the employees are going to prison. You're talking about Natasha, Mickey, the gang stalking Securitas employees. They're all going to federal prison together. I mean, they're not literally going together, but they are all equally subject to that same prosecution. They're going to prison for what they've committed and what the entity is still doing. The fake sun rising and setting, following from Upland, California, it doesn't change, for kidnapping committed right here, while the entity is still stalking. That's also why they're going to prison. They haven't even stopped, but that would be insufficient in the first place. But you're seeing why and how domestic terrorism is executed. A whole entity engaged in that pattern of conduct together, and they did that. Well, the fake sun is rising here. It remained at 10:29 a.m., where the entity Robert Guerrero, Corey Walton, and all the rest of these demons, these gang members that commit kidnapping in order to obstruct justice, and you're going to prison for it. And there is nothing that you can state about my character as to what is going to be proof as to why you committed what was a violation of my rights in the first place. It was nothing other than blatant harassment, because I'm documenting, period. And the entity lied on my character. I want to be clear. The entity that is gang stalking me is disproving that anything relevant about your so-called mental illness is the reason why they're stalking you. It will always be the focal point that they're stalking. All right, but I've shown it's legally irrelevant. They try to defame you while they are in fact stalking. And that's what you're looking at Southwest Airlines. And Southwest Airlines is the U.S. military. Okay, this is the P.O.C. The city is going to be defunded. The city is a stalker. And the entity committed kidnapping. Paul Leon committed kidnapping. That's why he's going to prison. I'm going to prosecute him. This is the P.O.C. Entity that's repeatedly engaging in what is stalking by plane, meaning they're flying along this line and making a U-turn. And this is the Ontario Civic Center. So this is the parking lot in between this senior citizen complex, 280 North Limit Apartments. This is related companies. Okay, this is also Metro 102 Apartments right here. This is the senior center, and it's the Ontario City Hall, where they're doing a U-turn over this parking lot, stalking in the path. And I am the focal point. This is why the fake sun is right here. And this is where the fake sun is setting, the same location where it is at 10:29 a.m., where this entity committed kidnapping on this day in 2022. The fake sun that's here, over 6 hours. You're talking about, it's currently right now 6:39 p.m. So You're talking about 12 hours later, the entity has the fake sun in the same position. The fake sun is over this building at 10:29 in the morning, and I'm showing you that it's still right here while I'm standing here, and you're capturing that illusion where surveillance is underway, stalking by an entity. This entity committed kidnapping on June 16, 2022. Pay attention, he's walking in engineer light, he's monitoring. That's not sunlight. Okay, the entity is engaging in this while they are stalking in the path, and this is the entity that committed kidnapping. That's not a destination that they're headed to. This is also not a takeoff. This is United Airlines. Let me show you. That's hovering over the apartment complex. This is a senior citizen complex as well. That's United Airlines that's engaging in that, and they are doing so while the entity is maintaining what is a published means of the flights that are underway right now. The entity is maintaining psychopathic pacing, so this is heavily frequent flights over the building. This is pursuant to monitoring. And I've also shown as the angle with regard to shutting down a domestic terrorist. The domestic terrorists are any means whereby an entity is targeting you. And the psychopathic conduct of stalking in planes and helicopters is speaking to the terrorists, including the Ontario International Airport, the terrorists, including the commercial airline companies, where the U.S. military are utilizing these commercial airline planes, engaging in what is nothing other than the pattern of conduct, stalking. And they did this pursuant to what was the purpose of kidnapping on this day in 2022, where this fake sun is right here right now at 6:41 a.m. And by the way, it's 6:41 a.m. There's no scheduled flight. That's what you're looking at. There's no scheduled flights right now, no departures. And when you are right here hovering over a senior citizen complex, when you are doing so where 12 hours from now after 6 p.m., like I just documented at 6:45 p.m. on Sunday, there is no destination intended. This is the entity's psychopathic pattern of conduct, and the psychopaths engage in criminal defamation upon kidnapping. And at 6:45 p.m., the fake sun is over the same building as it is at 10:29 a.m. on this day in 2022. They're going to be committed. The Ontario Police Department, those demons, engaged in psychotic behavior with the entity that is stalking here. This is now Delta Airlines. There are no flights scheduled right now. This is the psychopathic behavior. While the entity engaged in what is defaming my character, trying to suggest that I'm mentally ill. Tracy Banks trying to suggest that she has power of attorney when she does not even know what the definition of that legal instrument is, because she has sex with these cult members that are in the military. She has sex with these law enforcement officers that are engaging in what is the mentally ill pattern of conduct. They're all demons engaging in this pattern of conduct under a fake sun, which is going to be used to not only criminally convict them for targeting me, but to have them committed while they are engaging in this demented and deranged P.O.C. It is currently 6:42 a.m. 2022 is the same time of year right now, and you're talking about 7, 8, 9, 4 hours from now, this fake sun is at over the edge of the entrance of the Ovid Family Community Library. And this is also where the entity is flying miles away in order to target me in concert with Securitas, who's gang stalking right now, creating light activity, and is going to federal prison, engage in what is ongoing serial flight while the entity is stalking, hovering over the senior center, doing so repeatedly as I am documenting it, dipping and dodging while they want to fail at being captured, stalking where no planes are taking off and there are not even any scheduled departures. This is what the entity has been engaging in all morning. All right, Southwest Airlines, which is relevant to Southwest Airlines committing kidnapping on this day in 2022, while Southwest Airlines is providing the commercial planes for the U.S. military to fly in and stalk me obsessively, including while you're listening to United Airlines. That's the military. No passengers are on those flights. And I want to be clear, even if they were, let's say these demons take an actual flight with the people that stay on that plane, it's being prosecuted, period. But these are not. These are empty planes. These are psychos that engaged in kidnapping on this day in 2022. They're doing so under the fake sun that is still here 4 hours from now when this entity on this day in 2022 committed kidnapping. This fake sun is over the entrance of the Ovid Family Community Library, which is a kidnapping committed by the stalkers who are using planes and helicopters, stalking in the path. That's a demon also. And they're engaging in what is following me into the city of Upland, where they're maintaining aerial surveillance, and they're doing so exhibiting mental instability. They're doing so in an environment that is conducive to monitoring. And when you challenge the government that thinks that they're going to steal your wealth and assets, stalk you in order to try to drive you crazy, and that doesn't drive you crazy. In fact, you decide to prosecute them. That's when the entity commits kidnapping, and that's what they did. Well, that fake sun 4 hours from now is over the roof of this building at 10:29 a.m., where a gang of demons that are wearing Ontario police uniforms committed kidnapping. All right, this is not sunlight, and the noise is coming from demons that are gang stalking. That's not the sun. It's the entity that's maintaining engineered light. This is a demonic environment. And those were demons that committed kidnapping with Natasha and Daisy, Sean Thrasher, the people of the state making false allegations while that fake sun is remaining over this hood. That's 4 hours from right now. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in kidnapping on what is June 16, 2022, where this entity engages in criminal defamation and falsely accusing me of anything when I'm merely using the computers like I do every day, and the entity is hostile to that while they want to obsessively stalk and monitor me and engage in what is psychological torture and sexual violence such as vagina monitoring without it being published on the internet. And because I continuously publish it on the internet, the entity makes up, that is, criminally defames my character while they commit kidnappings through the co-conspirators of murder, the Ontario Police Department, which is the city of Ontario. These are demons who are going to prison. This is the criminal activity that they committed on June 16, 2022. And this was a kidnapping that lasted from June 16th to June 21st, 2022. And all these demons are going to prison. Corey Walton, badge 80548. R. Guerrero, badge 20070. C. Medina, badge 80533. Hadel Shiapani, who was gang stalking me right across the street, engaging in what is that unsolicited inquiry regarding a threat while she's got a gun on her waist, under the fake sun, stalking me and admittedly referring to my social media, which is my freedom of speech and has nothing to do with what is a process that they are abusing while they're discriminating against me because I'm documenting them. The entity that engaged in what is the March 3rd, 2026 expulsion from the Ovid Family Community Library. The Ovid Family Community Library that committed this kidnapping. Okay, that's Hadel Shiapani. She's going to prison. She's documented as of 2026 as well. Marcela, badge 80386, who's going to prison, are none. And the entity that's engaging in all this, she is going to federal prison. That's San Bernardino County Behavioral Health. She has nothing to do with anything. They call her there merely to defame my character, to include it in the paper trail that kidnappers of corrupt police departments maintain. Oh, we had to call behavioral health because the targeted individual, they're not referring to you as a targeted individual, but you're being targeted while the entity is stalking. Let's be clear. You're looking at Delta Airlines, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, the ongoing psychotic conduct of while they are stalking me, and I'm documenting it. They're doing so at what is the Senior Center. This is where I'm at. The University College of Law, the Ontario City Hall, the Ovid Family Community Library, and this is where they are stalking right here, flying across, repeatedly crossing path while I'm right here in this location. There are no planes taken off from the airport. The entity is clearly targeting by the location that I'm at, in other words, and they are doing so as I am documenting it moment by moment by moment. This is what an entity is doing, and they've been doing so all morning. I'm documenting it at 3 o'clock in the morning, where there are no scheduled flights. This is the entity that's engaging in kidnapping, and they engage in what is merely, this is Hadel, she's going to prison. That's Medina, he's going to prison. That's Guerrero, and these are the demons of under the fake sun, and I want you to see that. That is the fake sun at 11:05 a.m. Okay, 11:05 a.m. over this entrance right here. All right, 11:05 a.m. right here over this entrance when you're looking at it right now at what is 6:48 a.m. So that is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and this is the entity that's engaging in what is kidnapping in that specific environment, and they are on video engaging in the same criminal conduct that I was documenting on this day in 2022, where there is no legal relevance regarding why you are stalking somebody and then trying to inject defamation, which is the entity that is targeting you as well. This is the entity that's going to prison. Everybody that is documented here is going to federal prison, and it includes those that are employed at the Ovid Family Community Library. Okay, not only is this the entity, this is Arnett and Walton, that's Hadel Shiapani. This is the documentation because San Bernardino County is engaged in what are multiple kidnappings with the Ontario police while they are stalking with the people of the state. The people of the state are the ones that commit criminal summoning. They feel empowered when they state they're going to call the police while you document their license plates. They do so under the fake sun that rises and sets while they are feces consumers stalking you obsessively. This is the whole government system in California. And the entity that engages in any of those tactics, like what they did here, they're going to federal prison for it, and they're going to be committed. This is relevant to the criminal activity that I was subject to on this day in 2022. And there is no iteration of the natural environment that would include you looking at this fake sun reflecting off of the building of the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments at what is 6:49 a.m. and then the fake sun
being over the roof of this building at 11:05 a.m. Like I documented, when this entity put handcuffs on me and under what is the malicious guise of stating that I did anything to a child when I was documenting the entire day. Not only are they lying, but I also documented, it is literally in my evidence, the fact that they manufactured it and made it up. And Daisy is the one that is asserting that I am violating, that she's told by the people of the state, the same people of the state that are stalking. The same people of the state that are obsessed with my vagina, stalking me in the bathroom, under the fake sun. Psychopaths looking to the left and right like nothing is happening, while they are with the government, the military, the demons themselves, the psychos that are stalking me in planes and helicopters, which is the shutdown of the kidnappers of the Ontario International Airport. That airport's being shut down. Every commercial airline company is being federally prosecuted for what is proven kidnapping as an entity upon conspiring the murder of an American citizen, where they are utilizing these commercial planes in furtherance of murder. And that's why the military are flying and stalking me in them, under what is the proof, scientific proof of what is an environment showing that they're all mentally ill under a fake sun. They're all corrupt, targeting under a fake sun. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and they employ criminal defamation when it is the government themselves. The gang stalking courthouse, the gang stalking hospital, which includes Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, that was engaging in this pattern of conduct, which is also why I documented that fake sun remaining over me in San Bernardino County. Alrighty, and so this is the entity that maintained a whole paper trail. This paper trail is relevant to putting those in the medical field in prison. Everybody using their medical training, they were all gang stalking inside of Arrowhead Regional Medical Center that maintained the fake sun over me as well. And they were gang stalking by planes and helicopters at that facility as well. And they did so knowing who I am. That's speaking to knowledge, and they are engaged in criminal defamation accordingly. And it's also relevant because those are demons in the medical field gang stalking, just like they are right here outside at the Ovid Family Community Library. This entity committed a violent act of battery, poisoning my body, treating me as a patient while they're engaged in criminal acts of kidnapping to obstruct justice. Arrowhead Regional Medical Center has exceeded what is the basis to shut down that airport, not only shut down that hospital, but also to federally prosecute those that engaged in this. And this is what Tracy Banks relies on. This is the system that the U.S. military is engaging in with Tracy Banks and the entity that has defamed my character. And this is the entity that maintained the fake sun outside of the window of that hospital where I was kidnapped in Colton, California. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and this is what I'm documenting.
What is GERKEN like? This is inside of the room at Arrowhead
Impossible light activity
Center where I remain kidnapped. And this is impossible light activity. That's what this is. Across the room, blinds closed, so it's reaching through the crevice. That's the pattern of conduct of stalking light. And here's the fake sun as I captured in images. All right, an impossible occurrence. This is Colton, California, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center at 300 North Pepper Avenue. This is where the entity engaged in kidnapping. All right, the entity tried it again. Every single last one is going to federal prison.
This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. That fake sun is documented at 6:28 p.m. If you'll recall my evidence even yesterday, the entity, and the day before yesterday, the entity is keeping the fake sun right here at the Ovid Family Community Library over me at 6:45 p.m. And the day before that, the entity is stalking me by planes, under the fake sun in Upland, California at 100 East Foothill at 6:45 p.m. And that's after leaving what is the Upland Public Library. The entity is keeping that fake sun over me in Upland, California all day, keeping the fake sun over me in Ontario, California, right here at the Ovid Family Community Library, where 12 hours from now the fake sun is still here. And at 6:28 p.m., where I'm documenting and proving that by video at 6:45 p.m., the fake sun is here, not in any natural environment, where Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, San Bernardino County, is sharing the same exact pattern of conduct, which is proven through the ecological address, the ongoing maintenance of this scientific impossibility, this phenomenon where they are defaming my character and kidnapping with the demons that provide evidence against them, stalking in this delusional manner at this frequency, the more that I document them. This is the entity that's going to prison. Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. They've committed multiple kidnappings with the military. There are no scheduled flights right now. This is what you're looking at. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct while they are monitoring Southwest Airlines from Terminal 4. Does not have any flights that are coming from what this is monitoring right here. Does not have any flights that are coming from Terminal 4 while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct. It's currently 6:54 a.m. There are no scheduled flights. Southwest Airlines is monitoring pursuant to what is stalking.
While demons are engaging in what is the pattern of conduct of targeting you, when you say something or do something that they don't like, they are psychopaths and they engage in the elements of monitoring their ritualistic behavior. And what they are doing with regard to tangible evidence, they are engaging in what is admitting that they are stalking in the first place. They are in fact mentally ill. They are in fact mentally deficient while they are targeting with commercial airline planes, by the way. This is the entity that's doing so, and this was the pattern of conduct underway by Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, who committed kidnapping with the U.S. military. And I have extensive evidence of the entity maintaining a paper trail regarding defaming my character, and this was so that the military, who are actually mentally ill, as this evidence shows, and so are the demons who are the people of the state, following me around, stalking me as a society, stalking under a fake sun, stalking with engineer light, stalking while they look to the left and the right like nothing is happening, like they're not sitting around salivating over your genitalia that they're keeping under surveillance, which does not disprove that as the fact. The evidence remains the same, but you're analyzing their behavior, which is psychotic and delusional. This is an entity that's provided a paper trail to defame me, the one that they're stalking and obsessed with, and did so to steal my wealth and assets, to try to falsely depict the character of a wealthy person so that somebody, a mentally deficient whore, an elderly Jezebel such as Tracy Banks, who has sex with the homosexuals of the military, who has sex with the gay lords of the Ontario Police Department, for example, in order to accomplish what is a contract to target me and be paid for it, to profit from it. Gang stalking organizers like Jason Isaac Fields, who are sharing in that pattern of conduct and who have a sexual history with the gang stalking leader, Tracy Banks herself. Okay, this is the sex cult. This is that demonic entity, this cult that's engaging in what is targeting. And that cult is the U.S. military. The U.S. military, who aren't too bright. This paper trail is directly rebutted by stalking me, which is what I'm documenting right now. And I put it on the internet because it is a lie out of the pit of hell. And this is what an entity does when they want to steal from you. They have to try to tarnish your name. And it's successful when you don't have evidence that the government is targeting you. That's the only circumstances where it is successful. This is the entity that's engaging in that which is a matter of what is judicial notice. Not only are there no flights scheduled right now, but there are no flights that will be coming from the terminals that include flying over the Ontario City Hall parking lot, doing dips and dives and cartwheels while the entity is stalking. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in what is a public nuisance, and that public nuisance is pursuant to the conspiracy to commit murder, which UPS has been engaged in for years. UPS is engaging in the same stalking such as United Airlines, such as Southwest Airlines. They're engaging in what is stalking in the path in 12 hours from now. This fake son is still here, and that's the fake son that was outside of the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center that committed kidnapping with the U.S. military, the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police Department, the people of the state, the employees of the Ovid Family Community Library. They're going to prison. This is a lot of people who are going to prison. And you're shutting down what are means of terrorism. The entity is engaging in psychotic behavior and then having the audacity to try to defame you. That's a demon that's mentally ill, stalking with light and relevant position targeting. And that targeting is underway by the City of Ontario, using the resources that Paul Leon provides as in other words, one that is financing terrorism in the city. And he's being federally prosecuted because he has exceeded what is being merely a terrorist leader while you're targeted, because this city that is Paul Leon has committed kidnapping and has received what is money, incentivized this, and has engaged in more of it, has not ceased it. Literally, while I'm documenting it now, Paul Leon's being prosecuted, and Paul Leon is going to be in a federal cell. He's going to prison. Okay, this is the city hall right here, where they are flying over the city hall, clearly in violation of zoning, in violation of literally the agreement that exists. And Paul Leon and nobody of the City of Ontario have a problem because they're gang stalking. This is where the fake sun is rising and setting, where the city hall is located. That Ontario City Council is being removed. They're losing their position, and they're also being prosecuted as terrorists. And this is the entity that's doing so with the airport that's engaged in targeting me. This is distinct from the ongoing conduct that I'm subject to right now under the fake sun amongst a bunch of demons that are engaging in conspicuous surveillance and furtherance of murder. And this is the entity that does so, all right? That's the P.O.C. The entities engaged in that as demons, clearly not interested in exercising, because we're looking at all that mass and all it's doing is creating light activity while the U.S. military is gang stalking with them as a society. The demons that are doing so after 6 p.m. are sharing in the same conspicuous surveillance, and this is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law for kidnapping an American citizen that is documenting them engaging in what is gang stalking and furtherance of murdering that American citizen. This is the P.O.C. You are not engaged in anything, first of all, constitutionally protected, but you are actually not doing anything other than stalking when you are looking at what what the military is doing at the same time. They're not ignorant of that. And 4 hours from now, this fake son is at the entrance of this library where this entity committed kidnapping on this day in 2022. Every single last employee is going to federal prison. Every single last one of them. Whether they were present on June 16, 2022 or not, because in 2026, you see Myra. Myra's in there gang stalking. Any new hires, they're all in there gang stalking. And Sean Thrasher still remains there engaging in what is gang stalking as a corrupt leader and then engaging in what is expelling me. You don't have any authority, actually, while you're terrorizing me. And you're referring to that which is not a violation of the law that you don't even have an authority under when you're actually gang stalking in the first place. And they wrote out a lengthy admission regarding targeting me, and they're going to prison for that. That's no ordinary discrimination. It is that which is intended to obstruct justice, to slow down publishing, in other words. So while the military is still conspiring my murder, while the Ontario Police Department are still stalking and kidnapping by day and night, while they're doing so with the people of the state that are stalking me like dogs, okay, sniffing out my vagina, following me wherever it goes. This is an entity that's engaging in that level of sickness, and that's a threat to my life. They are all going to federal prison. Every single last one of them. The entities engaging in this, and so are the demons of the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. And the hostile demons that sit around sparking and flashing light are evidence regarding the mental illness that is shared by them, the ongoing surveillance that is underway. It's not helping them. It is showing you an unmistakable P.O.C., and they are being committed and they're being prosecuted. Okay? That's the P.O.C. They're also being removed from being on the roads and the highways. All right, this is relevant regarding the U.S. military that's engaging in stalking now. This is exactly what they were doing on June 16, 2022. And this entity maintained a paper trail. And these are gang stalking medical professionals signing their name, Leila Biazar Latis. This is a lying demon. She's going to prison for criminal defamation. I am no patient of hers. I have not voluntarily had any sort of contact with anyone in the medical field except to let them know that I exercise my right to not communicate, which is under no circumstances any sort of communication thereby you are using against that target individual. That's literally in violation of the Welfare Institutions Code. You are not getting or gaining any information with regard to making, or nor are you rendering any sort of diagnosis. You're not engaged in any treatment. You're engaged in kidnapping when the purpose of that presence is criminal in the first place. Nor are you using what is an American citizen's right under the Welfare and Institutions Code to not communicate with you, which they do not have to. And you do not render any diagnosis under such circumstances. That is not evidence of any mental illness, nor are you even exercising that capacity of being in the medical field because you are monitoring. You're engaged in kidnapping. There is no diagnosis. Everything that they wrote down pertaining to my name and admitting that you were in my presence, lying and defaming my character and doing so, is the evidence that's putting them in prison. Literally, as you see the name, they're going to federal prison. This is how Tracy Banks is engaged in what is exercising authority she doesn't have with the gang stalking military that are maintaining what are criminal court hearings where the people of the state are going in the court while they're gang stalking at the same time lying on my character. While I am been out here laying out an elaborate and well-organized, detailed, and fact-focused investigation, which all the entity seeks to suppress. They want to suppress it on the internet while they are still engaging in it. And it is absolutely 1000% true, everything that I have stated, and everything that I state I support with evidence. Including the fact that just because you claim, even being in the medical profession, this is disproving an illusion. They think because they are in the medical field, period, that means it is a fact that you are mentally ill because they opine that. Okay, well, their basis of opinion is actually an act of what is corruption. And you do not engage in that level of what are oppressing people. And that's not how the medical profession operates. And the entity is doing this under all circumstances pursuant to surveillance. And the entity is surveilling me and seeking to defame me because I'm telling the truth about what they are and what they've been doing. And the Ovid Family Community Library are co-conspirators of murder with the U.S. military that are stalking me, and they're stalking me throughout the city of Ontario and stalking me as I'm showing you as I go to Upland, California as well. That's where gang stalkers like GPC, they're going to be committed. That's light activity by a psychopath, not a legitimate business. And they're being prosecuted with regard to that pattern of conduct. They're doing so under the fake sun. That's conspicuous surveillance, and that's fine because the damages and the criminal charges are going to be met with regard to what justice requires. This is P.O.C. And this is what you are mindful of. This is what the entity is doing. Stalking, this ongoing stalking that you're witnessing now, the entity that's stalking me day and night by helicopter, the entity that's doing so with blatant disregard for the fact that you're capturing I'm capturing it on my podcast. They're following me, stalking by helicopter in Upland, California. They're doing so flying over my head, stalking and harassing me while I'm walking down the street. Don't forget about this entity that committed kidnapping. That's the same entity that committed kidnapping. And they want you to believe that I'm mentally ill or that any American citizen is mentally ill while they are simultaneously maintaining this. It is a very highly unintelligent and disorganized system. that is doing one thing and then betraying its own claims on the other. They are literally relying on the fact that you're just going to disregard and ignore what someone is saying. Nobody is ignoring what I'm saying. These are fools. Nobody is ignoring. Everyone is hearing me very loudly and clearly. And they're going to prison. Literally, the demons that are in the helicopters, that are in these planes, that are lined up to pace all around me, that are living in a relevant position, working in a relevant position, serially stalking, they're all means of what is federal prison. You violate the law requisite for prison, that's where you're going. And the entity committed kidnapping with Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, pursuant to obstruction of justice, in violation of the Welfare and Institutions Code, doing so upon what is monitoring me while they are in the hospital with engineered light. Pacing around engineered light inside of the venue. I documented the pattern of conduct inside of Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, where they are sharing, and that is meaning they're not just taking the word of a corrupt police department and liars that are lying on your character. That hospital itself is engaging in the pattern of conduct. That's why the fake sun is over me outside of the window of that hospital, and my evidence shows that it is remaining over me as I document the pattern of conduct in 2024 at the same time, where the sun is not going to be outside of my bedroom window and outside of the window of the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center at the same time, when I am documenting in 2026 the fake sun that's remaining over me at the same Ovid Family Community Library, where it's over me at when they commit the kidnapping at around 10:30 in the morning, and it's still here in the morning. This is an entity that is surrounded with scientific evidence, in addition to all the ways in which they've engaged in what is clear defamation, because there is nothing about me or this investigation also that I maintain that is supporting what is nothing other than secretive means of defamation, which is how someone has to engage in what is defaming me when you are an elderly, wrinkly Jezebel, a lying whore like Tracy Banks, who wants my money and decided to defame my character in furtherance of her plot to kill me, to get away with giving me my money and my wealth that she was supposed to hand over to me and never told me about. Okay, so gang stalking me with the military, that is not changing what is the criminal act. It's exposing how she engaged in what is seeking to steal from me. And the U.S. military are engaged in that plot to steal from an American citizen by defaming them together. And this is how you have the city, that's the state that's acting with the military. That's the military, that's the state, City of Ontario. Under the fake sun, that's Alaska Airlines in particular. And that's the fake sun that is still here speaking to surveillance, and this is coordinated conduct. The dumpster truck is there with regard to surveillance, stalking with light activity, stalking with amplified noise. It's the same P.O.C. The fake sun is here 12 hours later. That's how you know that they're engaged in intentional knowledge in the path, not ignorantly, and they're doing so as a matter of heavily documented conduct. They're monitoring my vagina in every hotel room in Ontario, California, gang stalking under that fake sun, and this is City of Ontario. That's Paul Leon's handiwork. He's being federally prosecuted. Nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaged in that, in stalking with the military and furtherance of stealing my money and assets, seeking to defame my character, lying and stating that I'm dead already. I'm dead, and that's why you have access to my money and my wealth, while the people of the state that are gang stalking are attending court hearings where I'm supposedly dead somewhere. And before I died, I was mentally ill. And while my mental illness is proven through what is the acts of criminal defamation, while this entity, the Ontario Police, Mike LORENZ, have repeatedly engaged in kidnapping pursuant to ongoing stalking that I've been reporting in my ongoing investigation, this investigation that the entity sought to avoid being exposed by kidnapping me in the first place and then lying and stating you don't know where I'm at, when Shannon Dykes is kidnapping me inside of the West Valley Detention Center. These are all facts. These are all facts, and this is relevant to the entity that is kidnapping on this day in 2022. They're going to prison by virtue of this scientific evidence 4 hours from now, where the fake sun is over this entrance, where they are committing kidnapping by defamation. Oh, you touched my child, and so then you have the stalkers who were already monitoring the Ontario Police arrive. They're under the fake sun and pursuant to malicious assertions that they know are a lie, just like they did on May 29, 2025. They're all going to prison. That's how the entity's pattern of conduct operates. And they're going to prison while the people of the state are going to prison as well. They're fully engaged in gang stalking. They're going to prison. That's a POC. It is currently 7:08 a.m. All right, this is a demon engaging in sexual assault and battery as an entity. So as they are doing so under the fake sun, impossible light moves all across me and across the Edmond building. This is somebody that is so is Chevron while they come to Chevron to commit that sex act as a demon. This is a terrorist, in other words. And this is the state that's stalking as a population. This is a kidnapper. They committed kidnapping on June 16, 2022. It's martial law for the entity that's engaging in what is engaging in kidnapping while they are gang stalking and furtherance of murder. License 70978 Victor 2. And it's doing so, you'll watch the fake sun move as I move. This is being it is. Yeah, another lesbian with teenagers, psychopaths looking is what we're focused on. She just committed the sex act that you already know under that fake sun that's moving as I move. And she's doing so with a minor. Okay, this is how sick demons are, and this is pacing.
and they committed a sex offense. 2 females, mother, daughter, while they're molesting another woman that they are stalking together, and these are the demon-possessed families, okay? Gang stalking, and that's Chevron. This is the entity that's going. It's martial law for gang stalkers that are committing kidnapping, which is what they did on June 16, 2022. This is P.O.C. Watch the light source move as I move. This is P.O.C. All right, and that minor is engaging in sexual assault and battery. That minor is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C., while the entity engages in this criminal activity as a population, indiscriminately. The fake son you already know is still here after 6 p.m. This is P.O.C. 8XDC428, 8GKA836. This white male over here with the bleached blonde hair, 96908Y3. This is P.O.C., and this is the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. This is Engineer Light's building while he's moving. That's a female, African-American, Impossible Light. The P.O.C. 8GKA836. These are demons. And Chevron's engaging in that. P.O.C. Yes. Hi. This is the entity, the pattern of conduct, asking me to leave when I'm already leaving, and that's because the entity is monitoring. While she does that, though. This is the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 8:43 a.m. Remember, the entity is keeping the fake sign today in 2022, where women are engaging in sexual violence with minor children, where the population is engaging in that, and the fake sign is remaining over me. At 10:29 a.m., it's remaining over the Ovid Family Community Library, where this entity that's gang stalking, this is the U.S. military acting vicariously through the people, commit kidnapping under the fake son. It will be martial law. It shall be martial law for the entity that commits kidnapping, which is what they did on this day in 2022. 6KOL800. This is P.O.C. It is 8:43 a.m. All right, gang stalker license 9 Wendy George Henry 086. This is another lesbian that's demon possessed, engaging in what is surveillance as an entity, while the entity is stalking me as I walk north up Euclid Avenue in Ontario under the fake sun. She's engaging in surveillance while she's sharing in the sex offense with Perez Law Group. Perez Law Group, that is Perez Law, that's at Granada and Euclid. She sits in the car stalking while the entity, and she's engaging in sexual assault and battery, and then she sits on the side while the gang members on the roads and the highways commit sexual assault repeatedly over and over and over again. They're doing this under the fake sun, which is remaining over me as I'm this sex offender's license plate, engaged in the U.S. military's conspiracy to commit murder, and this is the entity. She committed kidnapping as an entity on this day in 2022, as did Perez Law, a facilitating venue that is engaged in a pattern of conduct now, including while gang members are stalking on the roads and the highways, and Perez Law is in relevant position under that fake sun, are monitoring inside of that venue in furtherance of murder while maintaining a law office, and they are demonstrating in violation of the law and unfit to practice law. I just want to be clear on that. This is reporting gang stalking attorneys, where you're subject to that terrorism, and the entity is stalking me in the same manner under a fake sun, which is here at the end of the day, which I've also documented, and the entity is stalking me in planes and helicopters at Perez Law in the same exact city. This is the entity that's engaged in that together. I did document the sex offenders who are on Euclid Avenue and the sex offenders of Perez Law. That's the co-conspirators who are monitoring together. Fake sun is over me while Perez Law is present, the establishment, and it's not limited to business hours. People of the state maintain criminal presence in the path, including at a law office where there's no exception. And I'm subject to what is impossible light activity while Perez Law is targeting me. And they're doing so, and this is the prosecution, the indiscriminate means of prosecuting the terrorists, who are those that are practicing law in California. Impossible light streams across the law group, the law office, that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. That's why the light activity is occurring. All right, is the law office itself that is indeed engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. That's again license 9 Wendy George Henry 086. This is a female that goes onto the grounds of that venue and is engaging in what is prolonged presence, sitting there stalking the entire time, and waits until I move to the corner. That's when she gets out of her vehicle, unloads her vehicle, and walks into the parking lot of Perez Law. She's engaged in stalking, including now while she's inside of the venue of Perez Law. This is just documentation of Perez Law. This is another gang stalking officers of the court that are engaging in the gang stalking conduct. These are terrorists, and you are being removed from practicing law, the ability to do so while you are unfit. A terrorist will not be practicing law. You're not an officer of the court while you're engaging in terrorism, and you can literally not be trusted to do so. The officers of the court are the ones that commit kidnapping on behalf of the U.S. military. All right, so this is a means of reporting them, and that is why I'm subject to that ongoing terrorism at the venue. This is the P.O.C., and the entity is keeping this fake sun over me. And remember, it's somehow going to be over the Ovid Family Community Library at 10:30. That's the entity that's engaged in targeting. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in license 8GGN817 is engaging in sexual assault and battery while stopping at the corner, targeting me and doing capture this video. I'm capturing video of that right now. And they do so driving in slow motion to engage in molesting my person, and that's Perez Law that's engaging in what is a molestation via engineer light, while Perez Law, the establishment, and every licensed attorney, everybody in there is being prosecuted right now as a terrorist. This is the P.O.C. Gang stalking, which is documented as an entity, and Perez Law committed kidnapping. This is you need to understand the way in which this entity engaged in criminal activity is going to be applied to them as an entity. Kidnapping law offices are not going to survive. Kidnapping bus line, transit lines like Omnitrans are not going to survive. Kidnapping libraries and kidnapping city halls, kidnapping mayors, kidnapping grocery stores. These are the venues that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And this is going to be martial law for that entity. That includes those that are of the in the industry rather of practicing law, and these are the hypocrites. This is that public corruption, and they are also in the legal field, and that's what I'm documenting while I'm standing at what is Perez Law, where the fake sun is over me. It's 9 right now, 9:10 a.m. The entity has a fake sun over me when I'm walking back after 6 p.m. at Perez Law, and that's already on the record. This is P.O.C. It is currently where sexual assault and battery is underway at Perez Law. Attorneys at law, abogados, they're gang stalkers, all right? And they're engaging in what is terrorism with the people of the state. They're not ignorant about the impossible light or the fake sun. I am exposing them. They are unfit to practice. License 8GGN817. That's a fat-faced Latina female. She's gang stalking, and she's doing so with the demons that she's pacing with, engaging in that assault together. This is P.O.C. All right, this is Alaska Airlines that is engaged in a tremendous deviation. Stalking as usual, however. And what Alaska Airlines is doing is what the people of the state are doing, okay? There's no flight over I Street in Euclid. There's no flights that are hovering over the Plaza Serena. That's called activity creation when you put everything that they're doing under the fake sun in context, where the government, that's the military using an Alaska airline flight, okay? So what I'm documenting regarding Perez Law, that is speaking to what is a federal prosecution as a gang stalking law office. You have a bunch of psychopaths who are gang stalking, staring at a building. What you're going to look at is the direct evidence to have them federally prosecuted. And Alaska Airlines, nobody's ignoring that. This is where the entity was flying over me by helicopter. This is the same fake church. Remember, they proceeded to fly in circles. This is the same venue, and they're staring up at a dusty old church while they're gang stalking me while Alaska Airlines crosses path. This is how you're gang stalking. And you're going to pay attention to the fake sun. These are the demons that are going to be committed for that. All right, this is the P.O.C. This is where they're engaging what is the criminal pattern of conduct, and the psychopaths that are targeting you look to the left and the right like they're oblivious when they are literally worshiping your genitalia, stalking you into bathrooms, and you, including using Alaska Airline planes where there are no terminals, there are no takeoffs. Alaska Airlines didn't even maintain a takeoff while they're hovering over Euclid Avenue while people are stalking in the path, people that are under the supernatural phenomenon that is still here after 5 p.m. like I documented, where the entity proceeded to engage in what Alaska Airlines is doing, stalking by helicopter. This is P.O.C. You can keep your back to me all you want because they're going to prison. That's the pattern of conduct. That's P.O.C. And this is the population that committed kidnapping today. In 2022, it shall be martial law for that entity that commits kidnapping. And you're looking at their mental illness. They did so by criminal defamation. They will be locked down with martial law. This is P.O.C. License 9JBB112. License 7DBE279. Alaska Airlines is being federally prosecuted for conspiring my murder with the U.S. military, and they're doing so in furtherance of what is psychological torture, and Perez Law is engaged in that ongoing pattern of conduct. That's why I'm subject to that P.O.C. at that law office, and I can remain outside while they are gang stalking inside, and I'm subject to gang stalking regardless of business hours, and Perez Law under all circumstances is being federally prosecuted engaging in the P.O.C. You are removing terrorists from the ability to practice law, and they engage in kidnapping today, okay? This is not the sun, this is the bullseye regarding prosecuting terrorists. Gang members that are being removed from the roads and the highways. P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in this, and they committed kidnapping, and they are unapologetic. They are being subject to martial law, they're being deported, they're being put in prison, and they're being subject to what is a lockdown, martial law. P.O.C. This is the fake sun at what is 9:17 a.m. and it's moving north on Euclid Avenue. It's not going to be over the Ovid Family Community Library where the gang members of the Ontario Police, who are equally mentally ill, corrupt, and obsessively stalking me as demons, they're going to federal prison. All right, this is the P.O.C. All right, you will see images of the Upland Police Department that are proven as terrorists, demons in particular. They are a specific type of stalking entity. They are a demon-possessed, that is a mentally ill and corrupt entity. So they're engaged in criminal activity, and it is accented with mental instability. These are the demon-possessed. And demon possession is a threat to national security. While they are in these infected states, engaging in criminal activity like the Upland Police Department is doing, and you'll see that's currently 9:46 a.m. where they're utilizing multiple multiple images is what I just captured. They're using multiple vehicles regarding what is light activity while they're engaged in criminal summoning. They're doing so while they are south of the same intersection where they are gang stalking under the fake sun that's present after 6 p.m. They're doing so at the same intersection where that entity is stalking me also by helicopter after 6 p.m. And they're doing so at approximately 9:46 a.m., which is the time right now. It's 9:47 a.m. And on this day in 2022 as well, the entity is keeping the fake sun over me at the Ovid Family Community Library, whereas I'm in Upland. And the city of Upland, in concert with the city of Ontario, are together engaging in what is the criminal conspiracy to commit murder while they are gang stalking together. Not only right now in relevant position while I capture it, but this is relevant to the kidnapping that Upland, the city of Upland, committed as an entity that is indeed gang stalking. And that's how I have the scientific evidence proving that Marcelo, BLANCO, and Darren Goodman engage in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder with the military that is stalking me in Ontario, in Upland, and this entity committed kidnapping on June 16, 2022. Whereas at 9:46, 9:47, at around this time, the entity is stalking on video by helicopter. And then at 10 a.m. when I go into the Ovid Family Community Library, this is when the Ontario Police Department, pursuant to what is absolutely nothing precipitating prior to that, arrived inside of the venue of the library, and the entity engages in what is harassment. And while they fail in harassment, refuse to enter, all of that is documented in video. Then the entity engages in what is malicious assertions in order to keep me from going back inside of the library, where the entity is hostile to me publishing this very evidence of them gang stalking. And the entity did so via a kidnapping, which Upland Police, the city of Upland, committed. And every license plate that I'm documenting is meaning public exposure for an entity engaged in the pattern of conduct. But it's the entire city of Upland. The entire state committed kidnapping as an entity, and that's why Upland is engaging in that pattern of conduct in that scientific impossibility, not only at the intersection of 7th Street and Euclid, both during the 9 a.m. hour like I'm capturing now, even before 9 a.m. and also after 6 p.m. where I am being gang stalked by helicopter at that intersection, and everybody in that video is going to federal prison. The entity is engaging in criminal summoning right now, and I'm documenting the license plates of those that are engaging in what is all of the criminal acts that this entity has committed. And that's also why the Upland Police are being disbanded. They committed kidnapping in Upland, California. They committed kidnapping as an entity on this day in 2022 as well. They're engaged in the same pattern of conduct, which is why while I'm in Upland, as I travel through Upland, you're looking at that same P.O.C, which is impossible to occur naturally under any circumstances. This is the entity that is surrounded by that. And they decided to engage in that criminal act, which you are looking at. This is speaking to federal prison for Marcelo, BLANCO. These are demons that are psychotic in the same way that you're looking at their psychosis while they're stalking me at the Ontario Civic Center in Plains. And doing so, the more that I document, which is damning evidence, a sane person, a sane entity, criminals, in other words, that don't want to be subject to prison for the rest of their life, would just stop, at least while I'm capturing the video. But that's not what the mentally ill do. That's not what murderers and serial killers do. That's not what bombers do, Unabombers do. That's not what suicidal pilots do. That's not what sex offenders and stalkers do. They engage in what I'm capturing, and it's a threat to national security. And this is an entity that committed kidnapping today. And at this time, in 2022, the day that the entity, including the people of the state in Upland, California, committed kidnapping as an entity with the intent to obstruct justice because of what they're doing now, which is what I was documenting on this day in 2022. And I'm not maintaining a pattern of conduct that I'm subject to while I'm also some sort of sex offender, some sort of child molester. All right, I don't maintain this exceptional skill set which I'm using to fight for the good while I'm simultaneously maintaining a secret lifestyle that I'm also somehow magically keeping out of the documentation. I'm maintaining must be extra hours in the day in order to maintain that criminal lifestyle while they are gang stalking me and targeting me because of criminal conduct that they have not charged me for, but they have engaged in criminal acts of kidnapping for that which is absolutely farcical, such as being a child molester.
Touching a child, that's what they engaged in, they're all going to federal prison for it. And the Upland Police Department are being disbanded. And the people of the state are subject to martial law for engaging in kidnapping. That's exactly what the state of California engaged in today, which is why the Upland Police, the city of Upland and the city of Ontario, that are the people of the state, are engaging in gang stalking at the time that the entity is keeping the fake son over Family Community Library, where the city of Upland committed kidnapping in the city of Ontario on this day in 2022. And that's what you will see reflected in the images. They are doing so under the fake sun, which is how you know everything that they're engaging in, and you know the malicious intent that they harbor while they engage in it. But you also are aware of the inferiority of what is the delusion of being in denial. And then once you're in denial about, for example, being disbanded, being prosecuted, losing your job as a terrorist, not as a retired police officer or a retired police chief, you're being immediately removed as a terrorist, and you're not getting a dime upon that immediate removal, and you're looking at the impunity with which criminal activity is underway by a corrupt police department. And there is no ticket or citation or damage to property that's going to supersede the pattern of conduct. It's called malice. And the entities engage in this while they sit up and look at my evidence and make a decision to engage in that iteration of violence and psychological torture and threatening conduct. That's what the Upland Police Department are doing at 7th and Euclid. They're doing so while the fake sons remaining in Ontario, which is how you know this is criminal summoning, targeting, while I am indicting them through this audible activity, this podcast. P.O.C. That's vehicle 1074, while the fake son is squarely aimed on me at Euclid Avenue, where the 159 South Euclid, the Chevron, where the Upland Police Department engaged in criminal summoning and did so. That's where AMR is engaging in what is psychopathic behavior. This is what the fire department were doing last night. This is what demons do. They engage in their ritualistic behavior, and they do so while they are very much frenzied and fearful. This is actually behavior of demons that are scared of me. But this is what they do, and regardless of them being scared of me, that's what they're doing. That's what's going on with them emotionally. But they are actually engaged in criminal activity while they are scared because they are psychopathic. They're engaged in criminal activity. Use of an ambulance to engage in criminal monitoring is a federal offense. It's levying war against an American citizen that you're psychologically torturing, and they are doing it right now because they're scared. The fake son is over me, and the fake son is over the Family Community Library, where a kidnapping is underway at around 10:29 a.m. And American Medical Response is going to be prosecuted as a terrorist and the kidnapper that it is as well. And they're doing so in the city of Upland. And I documented many kidnappers' license plates today. They are remaining subject to what is martial law because the state of California committed kidnapping on this day today. And the entities engaged in criminal summoning right now under a fake son. AMR is doing the same thing in the middle of the afternoon in Upland, California on Euclid Avenue under the fake sun. AMR is doing the same thing in the evening on this same street under the fake sun. AMR is being federally prosecuted, and they committed kidnapping. Also with the Ontario Police Department, but they also committed kidnapping on this day in 2022 as the entity sharing that P.O.C. And by the way, they're doing so because they are very much fearful of everything that they're listening to me speak about. And they are psychopaths who are delusional. It's like the demons cause them to forget how they got bruised up the day before, and they get up and they do the same stupid pattern of conduct every single day, where everybody already knows that they're guilty. And you are watching an American citizen single-handedly prosecute a government for what they typically get away with, murdering and defaming an American citizen. And it is levying war. It's an act of war against the country. American citizens are supposed to be protected by the military, not attacked by the military. And this is the military that is a domestic terrorist, and it is an act of war against the United States of America. And they're being prosecuted for it. All right, and they're doing so as idiots that have admitted that they are guilty. There is no general inquiry. There is no controversy here. Everybody already knows that they're targeting me by virtue of the scientific evidence that I've maintained. The fake sun is over me while I'm kidnapped today in 2022. Excuse me, because I'm walking really fast right now. But the entity is kidnapping me in 2022 on this day, and the entity is keeping the fake sun while I am walking uphill. So this is, I'm basically working out right now, so apologies. But the entity is engaging in what is stalking in the path with police people. They don't have anything else to do. And that's speaking to the purpose of what is the system, is to maintain surveillance in the United States. And you have hundreds of people committing a sex offense together. The city of Upland committing a massive sex act of violence together while they are stalking and furtherance of psychological torture and harassment. And they do so under a fake sun that's remaining over me, moving in real time while it is stationary in the city of Ontario, where the entity is gang stalking and committing a kidnapping at around 10 10:29 a.m. my video is captured. I'm documenting the entity stalking at 11 o'clock in the morning, which I spoke to. You can look at the evidence of that kidnapping that is fully documented on my website. But you have at the same time of year, what is necessarily impossible to coexist, which is any natural environment. And in that environment that is supernatural is where surveillance is identified. That's where you can see, okay? My goal, the P.O.C's purpose, it is the Lord God's will that you be able to see the enemy. Okay, this is giving you sight to see, and you're going to see demons go to prison. You're going to see them be committed. You're going to see them serve what are the consequences for what under no circumstances you will ever do to the United States. And that's what they're doing when they levy war against an American citizen. They have levy war, and they are still doing so. And Marcelo Blanco is an enemy of the United States, and he's going to be treated accordingly. And he is still acting. That's what that is. You're using vehicles of the city. You're engaging in criminal activity. It is unmistakable. It doesn't matter if you keep your back to. None of the stuff that they rely on, the illusion, the appearance of the thing, matters. It's the specific environment you are targeting. This is also why planes and helicopters are remaining over me, and you're supposed to be overlooking the fact that they're doing it under a sun that sits over one location for 12 hours. Okay, so an idiot like Marcelo Blanco is requiring you and relying on you to disregard that. All right, and nobody's disregarding it, certainly not any military tribunal. Co-defendants of the military, the homosexual cult members with whom Marcelo Blanco and the entire Upland Police Department engage in kidnapping today as an entity in 2022. Every license plate that I documented are sharing in that ongoing criminal act of threatening upon kidnapping today, the anniversary of the criminal conduct for which the state of California is going to be subject to martial law. Okay, this is an entity, a society that committed kidnapping together, and entities that engage in that, they will be subject to martial law. They will be subject to what are involuntary commitments as you prosecute and dissect that corrupt and mentally ill entity, population. While they're engaged in criminal activity together of this manner, they're subject to martial law. This is P.O.C. The fake sun is over me at the Grossman Law Center, doing so at 9:58 a.m. Right? While the entity is keeping the fake sun over me today in 2022, same time of year, same time of day analysis same time of day analysis applies regarding the identification of stalking, surveillance that you're subject to. And they do so in a manner because they're engaging in surveillance in the engineered light, in that engineered environment. And while they do something as asinine as keeping a fake sun as the guise for what is covering light covering everything, that's how you're able to see. That's not the sun. They're stalking you when you go to Azusa, California, and they're stalking you the next day when you stay in Fontana, California, and all of a sudden the sun's not in Azusa, because if it is in Azusa, then it's not over the Fontana Lewis Library where you sit all day long, and it's present as you enter at 10 o'clock, and it's present as you exit at 6:30 p.m. That's where you're able to identify that the city of Fontana and the city of Azusa are sharing in surveillance, and they, as cities, are targeting you together. And they know exactly who you are while a whole fake sun remains over you. That is the level of evidence that Marcelo Blanco is contending with when he is committing kidnapping on this day in 2022. And because of that impunity, he is going to federal prison for committing kidnapping in Upland, California, with the unapologetic and unrepentant terrorists of the Upland Police Department, who are still stalking and have not learned their lesson from being embarrassed on the internet and then trying hard to keep it blocked from being published on Facebook. And it's all, not only your embarrassment, but your criminal activity. You're going to prison. You're going to be really embarrassed when you get committed. You're going to be really embarrassed when those that are related to you are in need of government assistance and they're not getting that. You're going to be very embarrassed. Or when you're impoverished and when you're going outside, you're sleeping outside. Not like me because you're targeting me. You're sleeping outside because that's where terrorists belong, like dogs. Okay, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 10 a.m. on the dot. The entity is keeping the fake sun while I'm walking north of Euclid Avenue. When you will see my images yesterday evening, the fake sun is over me at this same exact intersection. This is everybody that's being documented on a systematic basis. Companies that are corporate entities, and they're all being prosecuted for this ongoing pattern of conduct that's been underway for years, ceaselessly, with impunity, with terrorists such as the Upland Police Department, facilitating massive violence and psychological torture for which that department is being disbanded. That's not a police department, and they are not a police department while they're targeting with the U.S. military, keeping my vagina under surveillance. They're an embarrassment. These are cult members that are being removed from the positions that they've been hijacking, right, and murdering other competent people in order to do so. This is P.O.C. The fake sun over me at 204 North Euclid Avenue at 10 o'clock on the dot.
That's San Bernardino County Fire as I walk into the Upland City Hall that's engaged in surveillance. They are stalking by crossing path right here on Arrow. And they are doing so while the fake sun is over me inside of the Upland City Hall, where they are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And the sirens are sounding because I didn't go inside of the Upland Library like they expected. So the sound of the sirens is audible activity to keep me surrounded, to monitor and compensate for the absence of somebody to be right here, like the African American with the diaper bottom, to be in the path. The African American that's walking in, she's stalking in the path, waiting for me to walk into the Upland Library. I walked into the City Hall instead. It's criminal summoning. It's P.O.C. Bill Velto is a gang stalker, just like Paul Leon. This is ongoing audible activity under the fake sun. It's currently 1:04 p.m. The fake sun is squarely over me while you're listening to the people of the state who are engaged in what is gang stalking and furtherance of murder via their demon-possessed minor children, who are literally demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct in the way in which Satan is able to use them at their level, running around, which is pacing, and engineer light, which is done in relevant position while the fake sun is directly over the top of my head right now. That's what I'm taking a picture of right now at 1:04 p.m. This is where the fake sun is remaining today, where you will see the people of the state, such as Alan. He's engaged in pacing. He's doing so in engineer light. Remember, today is the day the entity engaged in what is kidnapping, and kidnapping is also identified through the pattern of conduct by the city of Ontario, the state of California, that maintained a fake sun while I traveled to Upland, and the evidence was being accumulated in Ontario at the same time at the Ovid Family Community Library, where kidnapping is occurring under the fake sun that's remaining stationary in Ontario, California. The entity has kept the fake sun over me en route to Upland and as I remain in Upland. And then you're listening to what is also the uncharacteristic level of noise inside of a library, where the entity is engaging what is noise activity creation, the maintenance of that. They also do it through what you've heard, which is activity of sirens. The entity doing so through the activity of incessant slamming of doors, which is amplified. The doing so through the amplification of plane and helicopter activity. These are underage third parties who are demons. These little kids are demons, and they're engaging in what is criminal activity, and they're doing so under the dangerous guardianship of demons who are here to engage in surveillance, and they bring their demon-possessed children to do so. That's what's creepy about what you're listening to. It's the opposite of innocence, insofar as these little demons didn't drive themselves here, but these are demon-possessed people who are under the age of majority, who are engaging in criminal activity, and the U.S. military is engaging in surveillance by it. There is no sun over the Ontario police that engage in kidnapping today at 215 E.C. Street at the Ovid Family Community Library, where a fake sun remained in Ontario as a matter of evidence. And there is no maintenance of what would be two mutually exclusive venues, where the entity has what is a sun in Upland and over the Upland Public Library, and also over the Ovid Family Community Library. And this is literally the same day at the same time analysis as I used June 16, 2022 with regard to today, June 16, 2026, where the natural environment, you're talking about what's going to be substantially the same with regard to the time of year, and also what you understand about the behavior of the natural environment. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. while pacing is underway, while the chorus of disruptive children is the means of audible activity. That's essentially what they're doing. And the entity's doing that with the same exact features of the specific environment. And this is getting to what is also, again, mental illness that is shared by the entity and all the ways in which they engage in their satanic ritual with regard to pacing around me, the maintenance of noise, and the engineer light. It is P.O.C. It is currently 1:07 p.m. What you're going to pay attention to as well is the entity that engages in what is harassing me. For example, asking me to be quiet or asking me to turn down, for example, my device when they are maintaining this noise level, and that's a matter of evidence as well. This is the entity that's also proving that it is indeed targeting while they engage in that conduct, and it's shared by the entity. The entity that engages on noise level, but when I am documenting, that is what is disruptive with regard to the demons that are being prosecuted by my evidence, okay? This is the entity that is entirely psychopathic, and they are violent sex offenders who are hostile to being called according to what they literally do. All right, they do it with kids, and I mean that in both ways. They gang stalk with children, and they also engage in sexual activity with children. The children that are the guise of audible activity right now under the fake sun that is remaining over the Upland Public Library. Currently 1:08 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, part of the mentally deranged, this mental illness is psychopathic. So this is mental illness that's malicious and intentional and consciously engaging in ongoing harms pursuant to stalking. And this is a fail at, but it's intended to be stalking that no one else can identify. So the sex offender is tracking my steps, which is proven through the environment, the fake sun. And as I get up from my seat, the entity is making sure that they are maintaining presence, and that includes a stalker's surveillance as an entity, not just the sex offender that goes into the bathroom. But they are going into the restroom before. That's a sex offender engaging in predatory conduct, and that's very demented. And it's also predatory that the entity is intending to make sure that the target individual is kept under surveillance in the bathroom by physically entering into it. And it's also a threat. It's relevant to psychological torture. While they sit around stalk you with noise all day, they're stalking in the path, pacing all around you, doing so in concert with the military that's stalking in planes and helicopters, while the psychopaths of the city are stalking with sirens and police vehicles and ambulances, having nothing to do other than surveilling you as a population, obsessively stalking and surrounding as I move in the building. And then the sex offenders go into the bathroom ahead of you because they think that gang stalk is going to be identified by chronology. All right, this is the P.O.C that engages in that. And so that's the entity that's engaging with is activity creation. All right, they are maintaining surveillance when they are not even physically in the bathroom. They go into the bathroom to engage in what is communicating a heightened threat. Gratified when you are documenting that. The entity will engage in repeating what it is that you discuss, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all the reasons why the entity engages in that. But they don't even have to go inside. And also, the entity is a sex offender and absolutely engages in sex trafficking conduct, cameras, engaging in what is exposing on the internet, viewing while you are in a private space. Those types of things, the entity as well, which is also another reason why the entity doesn't have to physically be present. But these are demons. Okay, and so you cannot prosecute in court based upon being a demon-possessed person, being a witch, but you can when the witch is committing criminal activity that you can prove with tangible evidence. And so these demons that are monitoring your genitalia engage in criminal acts of surveillance, which is proven by the P.O.C. And it's also relevant because you're learning about demons and what they know and what they do as they know, and that's for your own knowledge while you're also prosecuting Satan. So this is what the entity is doing as I get up from my seat, where the entity's been stalking all day long, all day, and at every moment that I get up, the sex offenders run into the bathroom ahead of me. I capture that while the sex offenders go into the male restroom. I capture that while the sex offenders go into the female restroom. They engage in monitoring my vagina and doing so, pacing in and out pursuant to that detailed personal private knowledge. And this is relevant to the harms regarding those that are going to prison for the ongoing systematic facilitation of federal group stalking and monitoring, which is an egregiously violent sex offense. This is P.O.C. This is bathroom monitoring at 6:53 p.m. where I am exiting the Upland Public Library momentarily. Yes, this is the entity that's opening the door as I approach it, and doing so with the demon that is heavily documented, engaging in harassment. That's also intentional. The one that engaged in physical violence, threatening to engage in a battery. She's a drug addict, and she's also mentally ill, and the type of mental illness she has, as opposed from all being mentally ill, they're demon possessed. This is mental illness where she has a condition where it seems like she's not all the way there all the time, but she knows what she's doing because she's very much heavily monitoring me and paying attention to me, and is even responsive to the things when I'm aware that she's monitoring. So she's in the spirit monitoring me. But anyway, she's in the bathroom, and I documented her in this bathroom doing the same thing. Adam Tuckerman's going to prison for this, but that's relevant to the pattern of conduct, not just stalking you, but putting in, for example, someone that's harassed you before or threatened you before. That's the one that goes into the bathroom to monitor your vagina, to communicate. All these petty tactics of Satan that's obsessed with you. Remember what I'm discussing this morning regarding the entity that will harass you, batter you, steal from you, defame you. It's all iterations of obsession. Okay, this is the entity that's doing that. Upland Public Library is obsessed with my vagina. That's the city of Upland. Maintaining surveillance of my vagina shall be recognized regarding not my vagina, but your genitalia, which is a reference to your privacy. Put it in a manner that is intentionally designed to cause what is not only attention, but humiliation by those that practice it. And that's exactly what Satan is doing. That's what the government is doing. Okay, that's not a military, that's not the United States government. These are sex offenders and stalkers, and they're being called out as what they are precisely engaging in. And it's surveillance of your genitalia, and that's because they're sex offenders who are professional stalkers, who are posing as those who are in a position to even protect us. And they have this whole gang system going on pertaining to the bathroom. This is a psychotic, sexually perverted level of surveillance that exceeds what you would even need to do if you were just interested in just stalking somebody all day long. Why do you need to go into the bathroom and monitor their movement pertaining to their genitalia? These are the mentally ill that are going to be committed. All right, this is bathroom monitoring at 6:55 p.m.